On April 15, 1912, the unsinkable ship sank in 2 hours and 40 minutes. 1,517 people died. The reasons why are darker than the movie ever showed. As you consider the tragedy, you might ask, what was the mindset of the crew and passengers who set sail from Southampton on April 10, 1912, aboard the largest ship in the world at the time, measuring over 882 feet in length and 92 feet in width? The Titanic was the epitome of luxury and technological advancement, with a gross tonnage of 46,328 tons and a top speed of 21 knots, designed by Alexander Carlisle and William Peary, and built by the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, where over 15,000 workers labored for 26 months to complete the massive vessel. On April 10, 1912, the Titanic began its maiden voyage, carrying 2,224 people, including 330 first-class passengers, such as millionaires John Jacob Astor and Benjamin Guggenheim, and 705 third-class passengers, mostly immigrants traveling to the United States in search of a better life. As you delve into the story, you might wonder, what role did social class play in the events that unfolded, given that first-class passengers had access to exclusive areas like the promenade deck and the à la carte restaurant, while third-class passengers were relegated to cramped and basic accommodations. As the ship approached the North Atlantic ice field on the night of April 14, 1912, lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee spotted an iceberg at 11:40 p.m., which was reported to the bridge, where First Officer William Murdoch took charge, but the ship was traveling at a speed of 22 knots in a known ice field, despite receiving several iceberg warnings throughout the day, including one from the SS Caronia at 9 a.m. and another from the SS Baltic at 1:42 p.m. The binoculars that could have aided the lookouts were locked in a cabinet, and the key was not readily available, a fact that would later be highlighted by the British inquiry into the disaster, led by Lord Mersey, which began on May 2, 1912. At 11:50 p.m., the ship struck the iceberg on its starboard side, causing extensive damage to its hull, which would eventually lead to its sinking, and as you consider the sequence of events, you might ask, could the disaster have been prevented if the crew had taken more timely and decisive action? The crew launched distress signals, including the famous CQD and SOS messages, which were received by the SS Carpathia, but not by the nearby SS California, which had stopped for the night and ignored the distress signals, despite being only 19 miles away. The lifeboats were launched, but many were not filled to capacity, with Lifeboat 1, for example, carrying only 12 people, despite having a capacity of 65, and as the crew struggled to evacuate the ship, the class-based disparities in survival rates became starkly apparent, with 60% of first-class passengers surviving, compared to only 24% of third-class passengers. The sinking of the Titanic sent shockwaves around the world, and the subsequent inquiries, including the British and American investigations, led to significant changes in maritime safety regulations, including the implementation of a system for reporting icebergs and the use of radio communication for emergency situations, as recommended by the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, which was signed on January 20, 1914, by 12 countries, including the United States, Britain, and Germany. The disaster also led to the creation of the International Ice Patrol, which was established on February 17, 1913, to monitor icebergs in the North Atlantic and provide warnings to ships, and as you consider the legacy of the Titanic, you might ask, what other lessons can be learned from this tragedy, and how can they be applied to modern-day safety protocols? As you reflect on the story of the Titanic, you are left with a haunting question: what would have happened if the crew had heeded the iceberg warnings, and the ship had slowed down or altered its course, potentially avoiding the disaster altogether? And as you ponder this, you are reminded that the true tragedy of the Titanic lies not in the sinking of the ship, but in the avoidable loss of 1,517 human lives, a stark reminder of the importance of safety, vigilance, and responsible decision making.